It's an epically long episode today as we are talking summer movies, but we're still about 2 hours shy of Avengers Endgame.
Welcome to Panelism, the podcast where we talk about the comics and graphic novels worth having on your shelf. I am Taylor Trask.
I'm Todd A.
And today we're not talking about those things. We're talking about movies.
The movie's worth going to a theater and...
That's
right.
right.
We say that.
That's right. If this is our summer movie preview episode. We do this every once in a great while. And with the summer coming... with chock full of comics and sci-fi and geeky movies, I asked Todd if it was a good time to go through the list and tee it off a little bit, and especially because summer movie starts this week. April is now part of the summer movie schedule.
Well, and honestly, like when you said summer movies, I was like, man, I can't even look past April because of what's on the slate, and then having Game of Thrones, the majority of which like take place. Or I guess not the majority. It starts halfway through April, and then that's all I can look at.
Well, you bring up a good point, because we have come to a place in 2019 where we can't. I mean, the movies we're going to talk about there's a lot of them, and some of them are really interesting, and some of them are not going to be interesting. But we also have to, if we were doing a true full list, we would have Game of Thrones, we'd have Stranger Things, we'd have all the shows coming up this year, this summer specifically, that are going to be amazing and probably bigger or better than a lot of these movies.
Well, and Game of Thrones is going to be 6 movies, more or less.
That's a great point. Yeah.
They're all having that extended running time. It's going to be nuts.
And that starts very soon.
That's just blowing me away, honestly. Like, because I was with some friends last night and we were talking about it, and one of them pointed out, like, "Oh, isn't the first episode almost 2 hours?" And I thought, yeah, all our friends are like, everyone we know in the world is going to get together once a week and all watch a movie together
for 6 weeks.
It's not like a TV show anymore.
No.
It's its own thing.
And it's going to be a big, man, for those of you listening, Todd and I host another show called Wednesday in Westeros we will be
transition.
I know we'll be talking more about that on our next episode. We're going to be doing a crossover ep to get all you Panelism listeners integrated into that show, or aware of that show at least. So more Game of Thrones to come. Let's keep this focused on just movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just for now, I for those of you who don't know, I used to be a huge summer movie fan. And when I say, let's kind of define what I mean by summer movies. I mean event tentpole movies that are big budget, usually. There have been some interesting exceptions to that over the years. And, they're sort of the ones that you go to the theater for pure escapism. I'm not looking for, in the case of summer movies, I'm not looking for, heady thinking man's pieces, usually, although, things like Inception or Ex Machina pop up once in a while that really take me by surprise, and those are really fun. But for the most part, I want the spectacle, and I want a really well done, piece that I can go, oh my God, that was so much fun. You come out of the theater all energized, all ready to go. At one point, the midnight showing used to be a thing. They don't really do that anymore. With Marvel movies, that used to be my tradition, was to do the midnight showing, the first Iron Man, the first Avengers. I'm sure some markets still do it, but most of the theaters in Colorado don't. They do like the 7 p.m. the night before showing, or the 10 p.m. We've kind of lost a little of that magic. So maybe this is a transitory year. One thing I do want to mention, though, before we jump into the list, I am a little worried as we go through these picks that summer movies have become just pure, the amount of franchises and sequels and sort of just rehashes of stuff has almost gotten to be too much. There's going to be some really interesting choices in here, but I was looking back historically at what other legendary summer movie slates. And I don't know if we've ever talked about this year, Todd. We might have in a previous episode, but I came to the summer of 1982, which is often lauded as one of the best of the summer movie slates, but let me just walk you through what came out that summer. And remember, this is just the summer of 1982. And I want to use this as kind of like a reference point as we go, because like I just want to keep coming back to how, what kinds of movies used to come out and, compared to where we are now. Here's the list: An Officer and a Gentleman, Annie, Blade Runner, Conan the Barbarian, E.T., Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Poltergeist, Rocky III. So here's our first sequel. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, arguably the best Star Trek. So another sequel. The Road Warrior.
Only Star Trek, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, it's for a lot of people. The Road Warrior, The Secret of Nim, The Thing, and Tron. So of that list, only 2 movies are actual sequels or franchise films, which in the early 80s, that wasn't, we didn't think about franchises in the same way. That was still a very new concept. But only 2 sequels. And the rest of these most of these are legendary, like first entries into what people are now trying to recreate and reboot and rehash. But like, good Lord, E.T., Poltergeist, and Tron alone, and The Road Warrior, like the first Mad Max movie. Like, just think about that, right? And like just the originality and this sort of emphasis on new and interesting properties and new and interesting scripts and voices. And just keep that in your mind as we go through this list, because we're gonna talk about a lot of things that you're like, oh my Christ, it's the 9th or 10th installment in this in this series, or it's yet one more in this series. Not necessarily a bad thing. I'd love to hear what you have to think, Todd, as we go through this. And
boy, I'm trying to think of a good way to phrase that. I resist the urge. I try to resist the urge in everything to think, oh, it used to be so much better than before. I do think the world of movies has changed. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. And I don't think you don't share this opinion with other people, but I have a lot of friends who they sort of grimace like, I don't go to movies anymore. And to me, the experience is actually it's still the magical experience to me of being in the theater, and I don't know, I don't feel any nostalgia in that way or disappointment or something. So this is good, because I'm going to play the role of sort of the indie curmudgeon, like in a lot of this, and you're going to be sort of the hopeful optimist, which is great. So we'll be able to color our choices in our commentary a little bit through those lenses, which is, I think that honestly represents most of the demographic, either listening to the show or going to these movies. It's like, there are 2 opinions.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah. I think it's, there's definitely, because to me, like you sort of talked about how the magic of the midnight showing is gone. And I think, one of the other sort of magic things that's kind of gone, if you want to phrase it that way, is like, I also don't go to record stores at midnight to get a release, nor do I wait in line to buy tickets to a show. Like that used to be the thing, is like, if I were going to see a big band, I remember, and it was so weird in Nashville where the Ticketmaster outlets, majority of them were located in like Dillard's department stores.
Oh, that's right.
So there would be this, like, I'm going to see The Cure, and there's all these people in like black Cure shirts at 6 a.m. lined up outside of Dillard's. Like, what the hell is going on here? But to me, like, I don't know. I think those things have been substituted by there's a different excitement. Like some other friends this weekend were talking about how we're going to have to plan out like how we're seeing the Avengers, because the tickets are going on sale maybe tomorrow even or something. And sorry, as we're recording this, not as we're releasing. And it was something like, this friend was saying like, yeah, they're going to, it's, if you want a block of more than 2, like it's going to have to be all planned out. Cause, and I don't know. I think that's kind of an exciting thing. I don't know that I don't miss the days of like getting, barely getting to a movie on time and finding no seats together. I would much rather buy my seats in advance. Anyway.
Well, we do live in a world now where most movie seats are reserved, right? Yeah. So that's there's been a lot of positive change too. I think probably what I am missing more than anything is truly being surprised and that communal experience, which as we mentioned before, has kind of shifted more to TV, or in the case of Endgame is obviously still there, but that's kind of the end of another era. We'll get more into Endgame in a second. What we're going to do is we're going to go through April, May, June, July, and August and kind of highlight the films that are probably most have most notoriety or of most, kind of fit into this, the summer movie bucket. We're not going to talk so much about the really indie stuff, although there's one pick on here that I really want to lean in on a little bit that I don't know if a lot of people are aware of. That might be this year's Ex Machina, maybe, just maybe. Remind me, was Ex Machina, we talked about that on a previous episode, was that a summer movie or was that a March release when you saw it?
I want to say it was it's spring, and I just Googled it. It was April. Yeah.
April. Okay, so that counts because I remember you saying we talked about it kind of in.
It was
late
right at the beginning of us recording this podcast, I think.
That's right, 2015.
Yeah, because it was was that Avengers? Ultron came out in 2015 as well.
Yeah. Oh God.
I had one more other thing to add, just because I think it's neat that we. I can't believe I just used the word neat. I love that when you and I talk about an individual movie, we specifically talk about the whole experience of it. And, if we saw it in 2D or 3D or IMAX, or, if it was Alamo Drafthouse and you had a beer or what, that's always cool to feel that whole experience. And as you're saying that about kind of losing some of the magic of the event days or the big special communal experience, there's this really I have this really neat and pretty it is a unique experience. I grant you that not everyone can do this, but one of the things that keeps that sort of magic and specialness alive to me is that I actually have a first run movie theater within walking distance of my house.
Oh wow.
And so I love it when new releases come out on Thursday afternoon. Sometimes I can even catch a matinee of something that's technically not even out till the next day.
Damn.
And walking over there and, it's not exactly communal in the sense of I'm never going with friends when that happens. It's just me walking over there alone. But it's that, I think, that physical, being in the community and walking over to the theater and, that to me means a lot. So it's a really neat special experience.
That does change the equation. If I had a theater very near me or within walking distance, I think I'd feel very differently about all this. So that is a good point.
Whereas if I walked over there at midnight, because that's when it released and there were just crowds of people and stuff, that would not be as fun to me as if I were alone doing that, I would definitely want to do that with friends.
Yeah.
But I have done that with friends. I have said hey, just park at my house. We'll just walk over to the theater,
But see, we used to live in Nashville, and Cool Springs, which is just a little south of Nashville, has this gigantic ass theater called the Thoroughbred 20, I think, or something but it's the Thoroughbred. And I don't know if it's still the case, but when I was living there, that was my theater of choice because you'd get there. What?
Okay. Really?
Yeah. No, here's why. You'd get there, and for all these event movies, they wouldn't, you don't even pick the time you want to go. You just show up and there's just these giant lines, and every 10 minutes, they're just rolling through another group. And you kind of feel oh my God, you feel like you're part of this whole ecosystem now. And you just, with either as an individual or with people, you just kind of get funneled in. So I saw The Matrix, the two terrible sequels, but The Matrix sequels that way. The third, what's that third Star Wars prequel that way? I saw a bunch of stuff that way. That one was
Lord of the Sith or something.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith. There we go. I've sort of blocked all the George Lucas stuff out. I saw the second X-Men that way, which is my favorite, possibly my favorite superhero movie of all time, even to this day.
That was even doing Green Hills. X-Men. Green Hills was around during X-Men 2.
No,
I saw X-Men 3 at Green Hills.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't up there. And by the way, a plug for an amazing movie experience in Nashville, Tennessee is the Belcourt.
Yes.
That renovation of it is unreal.
Have
you been there in the last few years?
Yes. Oh yeah.
It's
crazy.
God.
It's ridiculous.
Amazing.
That is a true gem in that city now.
Thoroughbred has not been revamped. At least the last time I was there, which maybe a year and a half or so ago. Not super great.
Yeah.
So wow, I could talk about movie theaters forever.
We'll do that in another. We'll do a movie theater review.
Remember Lion's Head, or what was there was one on the way out of town that had all the
grocery store.
the neon lights around it.
Oh yeah,
that one. And then there's oh my gosh. Let's just jump into it.
Let's jump in. So we're going to start with April, and this very week, in fact, if this comes out on Wednesday, then tomorrow, Shazam, the Zachary Levi vehicle, comes out. And this is probably, of all the superhero stuff coming out this summer, this is probably the one I'm most interested in, because it's got Zachary Levi. Even though he's in that dorky suit, I don't care. This looks like another just home run from DC, where they're just like, hey,
whoa, another
Wonder Woman.
You mean DC? Oh, okay.
Wonder Woman. I mean, okay. Aquaman. You can I mean, that jury's still out, but Wonder Woman in my mind is definitely like, oh, that's so. This is like another firm, like tonally looks amazing.
I know. I feel like if you hit a home run and then you strike out like 3 times in a row,
well,
it's just a home run.
All right, a home run from DC, and I mean, I'm saying that exclusively on the fact that it's Zachary Levi looking like he's having the time of his life, and freaking Mark Strong. I mean, Mark Strong in anything instantly has my ticket, but he plays Savannah in this, and it just looks like he's having a lot of fun too. And I have a feeling this is going to be not a sleeper hit, maybe so much as just we're going to look back on this season and go, man, what a great start to all of this. What a fun, just amazing, just feel good movie to kick all this off with.
Honestly, I think this is the one where when it comes out, this is worth me walking over, like whenever the earliest showing is on Thursday, just like in the sunshine, walking over there and seeing this. And for the longest time, I kept after that first trailer, you were the one who told me to check out whenever the first trailer came out, because I was like, why are they even doing a Shazam? I was afraid they were going to make it all serious, like try to do a dark timeline thing. And
be like,
oh God, no. And but when after I saw that first, the Snyderverse Shazam, I thought it was going to be sort of like an Ant-Man, but I actually think, and I don't know if this is a huge tonal switch, but I think it might be like their Spider-Man.
Oh,
I kind of feel like this is their hero that gets to be, like a klutz or funny or, like a kid. Yeah. It's a kid, because it is a kid who's transforming into this Superman. I'm really looking forward to it.
And they're really leaning into the big, the Tom Hanks big movie comparisons, which, why not?
I hadn't caught that.
God. Yeah. They're really, it's going to be, I mean, he even has like the friend and everything, and it's it's all part of canon, but they're making it work. I'm excited. That's on April 5th. On April 12th, a week later, we get the new rebooted Hellboy.
Yeah. And this is another one I was super skeptical about.
Same. From the get-go, I was like, really? Do we need another one of this? But everything I see that comes out about it makes me all the more interested in it. Yeah. I was, props to Guillermo del Toro for making a really good-looking first 2 Hellboys. But you look at the Ron Perlman costume compared to the David Harbour costume, and it looks all plasticky and fake. Like, they really nailed the production design this time around. And just everything I see in the trailer. Yeah, everything. Just Google that. Google like Ron Perlman Hellboy versus David Harbour Hellboy, and you'll get to see several side-by-side comparisons. And I was never a big Hellboy comic fan. I recently, through my local book club at Escape Velocity Comics here in Colorado Springs.
Just by mentioning this, you're cursing us.
Well, that's true. There's a side story there we'll get to another time, but I've actually gotten more into the Hellboy comics, so I'm a little bit more familiar with the source material than I was previously. But David Harbour, perfect. I mean, Jesus, perfect choice.
This I feel probably identically. Like, I just thought when I saw it, I was like, who is asking for this? And why now? And why Mr. Dadbod from Stranger Things? I just didn't. Not that I love him, but I've only ever seen him in Stranger Things, and I just didn't really understand, like, how is this in the zeitgeist right now? Because my impression of the other Hellboy movies, correct me with your impression, was that they weren't widely well received, but I enjoyed them, and I feel like they've got legs, because I think Guillermo del Toro ended up developing like a bigger and bigger following, and so I think people are tuning into him now because they know his work. And I don't know, I just but at the time they felt like, I can't even believe they're making a second one of these. I didn't know
And they look great. I mean, but like in hindsight, they look a little dated. I'm going to be honest. Like I watched the first one recently and I was like, hey, I love, I mean, Guillermo del Toro is a visual genius, but compared to what I'm seeing in the trailers for this new one, I'm like, I'm glad this new one exists so that we have almost kind of like a fresh start. And honestly, just like Mark Strong is a stamp of credibility on anything via Shazam, Ian McShane, as I forget the character he's playing, but Ian McShane is in this one. And I just, that alone, I would have like, well, I'm going to buy a ticket just to see how much fun he has.
I also appreciate that it doesn't look like a continuation of the story they told before or like a full reboot.
Yeah.
It does feel like a fresh thing, which is a really hard thing to pull off, especially in that just in that color scheme, you know, like they've got to stick to that palette of colors.
Yeah.
And you could so easily just become like another dark, you know, superhero movie, and it doesn't have the same like life that the others did, but at least from what I saw in the preview, I really enjoyed.
I kind of wonder if that wasn't the result of Deadpool coming out beforehand, where they're like, oh, we can have this sort of, you know, just bonkers, violent, sort of crazy movie and have it be fun and funny too. Deadpool, and then, you know, I hate to keep saying Kingsman, but to some extent Kingsman, but mainly Deadpool really sort of set the template or the formula for like, if you want to do movies like this, it's possible, but you got to be really, really careful with the balance. And it just, I mean, both the trailers I've seen just look amazing. P.S. David Harbour actually bulked up for that role, so give that dude credit. That is not a bodysuit. That is all him.
Wow.
So I'm guessing that Hopper in the next season of Stranger Things is going to be oddly in shape, but they're going to have to explain that away somehow.
It can't turn his neck. I know. I'm so glad you brought up Deadpool, because that, I mean, granted, it gets a lot of credit, but that definitely, Marvel had a good like run of establishing what superhero movies needed to be like, and Deadpool flipped that on its head.
Yeah,
you know, and I think
that we never
and I think because of that, we got things like Logan and you know, the Dark Snyderverse. Anyway, we should. I mean, it's good. That's all that's coming out in April that anyone wants to see anyway.
That's right.
We can just jump into May, right?
Anything else? No. Well, normally this would be May, but this year, because of its importance in the whole scheme of things, Avengers Endgame is on April 26th, which is the first time Marvel's ever dipped. I think last year, did Infinity War come out in April, or did they?
I don't know, because Black Panther was February, right? That's a good question, though.
Let me look. Infinity War release date was it was April 27th, because they had it as a May date and then they moved it up.
You're right.
As a part of a whole like PR blitz thing. But so this is just always April 26th. I mean, it's Endgame. So much has been said about it. It is, I mean, probably the biggest thing is this is the end of, if you think of all the Marvel movies up till now as episodes of a long running TV show, which I do. This is sort of the not series finale, but for the most part, like, you know, it is the season finale, you know, like all of this, everything up till now is like of one continuation. And I think everything after this is going to be completely new as far as the bigger arcs, you know, who knows who's going to live or die after this. I mean, obviously we know Spider-Man's going to live.
I sure hope so. I mean, we've touched on this in the last, you know, we touched on this in the Captain Marvel episode, and then last week in our funny half episode, our sort of side episode that we accidentally had last week, where there's so much to keep up with that I really hope this becomes kind of a clean break. In like, there's like, we're introduced to the new heroes of Marvel, and there might be references, but hopefully as a fan, you can feel like, you know what, I didn't need to see the previous 20 movies. Yeah. I can just kind of pick up in this generation of Black Panther and Captain Marvel and, you know, maybe Doctor Strange to some extent. And that's, you know,
I want
the post Infinity War stuff.
I want it to feel like it did when the first run of Marvel movies came out, where you didn't know what you were expecting. You didn't know where everything felt fresh and like, oh wow, this connects to this. That's so new and interesting. Like, remember seeing that first Thor movie, and then at the very, was it Thor at the very end? What was Iron Man 2. Remember seeing Iron Man 2, and at the very end in the post-credit scene, you saw the hammer, the Thor hammer like in there, and you're just like, oh my God. I want that feeling back. And I feel like, you know, you can go back and listen to our Infinity War episode from last year. We get into it, but one of the big, I guess kind of one of my sort of, not complaints so much as just like, is that they don't even try anymore to like get the audience up to speed. They're like, you're either on board or you're not, which in a lot of ways is, you know, gives them benefit. They can just get right into the story, not waste time. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, man, I feel like I'm so locked into a predetermined narrative that I want to go back to where, man, maybe Spider-Man won't meet this other guy and maybe it'll stay self-contained. I don't know. Like, who knows?
We gotta put a pin in that, because when we come later in the calendar and hit Spider-Man, I think there's a good way to tie that together.
Okay.
But,
well, we'll come back and we'll do a full Endgame episode that will recap the whole thing. So
let's try to make it twice as long as the movie.
Yeah, let's do. We'll just have we'll watch it, and we'll 3 hours later we'll have everything that will need to be said will be said. Well, let's jump into May, and we'll kind of speed up a little bit because some of these as we go are not going to be as important as those three. So on May 10th we have Pokemon Detective Pikachu, which I don't understand why this exists or who's interested in this, but after seeing all the people in Colorado Springs who play Pokemon Go on a weekly basis, clearly there's a market. I don't know why Ryan Reynolds had to voice Pikachu, but you know, here we are, and I guess this exists. What about you?
I mean, when I saw this on the list, I what the fuck? I mean, I just don't like.
I'm not seeing it. I mean,
I know I'm not the target audience anyway, but like, I don't. Or maybe I'll phrase that as a question: is this the 21st century example of like when they made a Mario Brothers movie?
Oh,
like no one needs it, no one cares. Like it's not a property that needed to be turned into a narrative. Yeah. I don't understand. I don't know. I have no association with Pokemon. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm like vaguely aware of like there's cards and there's a AR game now, but like, so I have no tie to this at all. So to me, it's just like, why is Ryan Reynolds involved?
Considering how many think pieces have been written on why Danny DeVito wasn't cast as the voice actor for Pikachu, I'm guessing this is going to do fairly well. Oh God, there are so many articles about why wasn't Danny DeVito cast. More about I'm like, why is this the relevant topic of our time? Apparently, a lot of people had a say in that matter.
I guess I can see that there's a sliver of the millennial audience that like grew up with Pokemon, and then when it was sort of reintroduced a couple of years ago with Go, so now it has like a much younger, you know, it is kind of hitting that sweet spot of like a nostalgia and just discovering it for the first time.
I guess
maybe, but I mean, again, what the fuck?
I guess, although nostalgia and discovering it for the first time, in my mind, perfectly describes the next movie on May 17th. I'm serious. On May 17th, we get John Wick Chapter 3, subtitled Parabellum. And now I am somebody who has been aware of the John Wick movies. I've seen bits and pieces on a plane here and there. Again, Ian McShane pops up in this, so I should have seen it a long time ago. But I'm actually super duper interested in this because there's a lot of actors in it that haven't been in it yet that I really, really like. And
so have you have not seen either of the other two like in full?
I'm going to be catching up on them before this one.
Yeah. I haven't seen them either.
When we're talking about comic book movies, this is kind of like, you know, all the comic books and graphic novels that I really like, all the indie Image picks. This almost feels like this should have been a graphic novel first, just based on sort of how it was not. No. So the whole story is, long story short, Keanu Reeves, when he was doing The Matrix, his stunt guy, and he became good friends. His stunt guy said, "Hey, I want to do this movie called John Wick. I can only sell it if I get a star. Can you be in it as a favor to me?" And Keanu Reeves is like, "Yeah, I guess." And Keanu Reeves at that point has been pretty public about saying, "I don't need to make it. I don't need to do anything else. I'm set for the rest of my life, money-wise. So I'm good. I don't need to really work. I'll do this as a favor to this guy." And it ends up being probably the career-defining role of Keanu Reeves. Even considering The Matrix and all that, like everybody knows him as John Wick now. So with each of these releases, they just get bigger and better and bigger and better. So it's really kind of fun to see this Keanu-sans that we're going through right now. He's in that. He's in Toy Story 4. They just announced Bill and Ted 3. Like, this dude is now back in the public eye, and and he's just by all accounts a really good guy. Yeah. So it's really kind of cool to see him at this stage in his career, like, kind of have this renaissance, and like everybody's like, wow, Keanu Reeves. And it's kind of that, how some actors, there's the perfect role at the perfect age for that actor where it's just like everything aligns. And I kind of feel like John Wick is that for Keanu Reeves.
Interesting, man. You're coming to this from that I appreciate all that. That's a really interesting way to look at it. Cause I'm coming at it more from the appreciating something that's like way over the top angle. Like, because I got into the Fast and Furious movies specifically because the How Did This Get Made podcast kept covering every one of them with Adam Scott, and they kept loving them more and more. And I was like, well, this is crazy. If they really like it, maybe I should check it out, in an unironic sort of sense. Although the ironic line gets pretty blurred, but they also love John Wick. I don't know if they've ever done an episode on it. I believe Jason Mantzoukas is in number 3. Like, I think, they sort of always joke about, please cast us in the sequel. And I think he actually did get cast in John Wick 3. To me, Keanu Reeves, like, career defining role.
He is. He's TikTok.
Oh, nice. You said his career defining. He's now thought of as John Wick. I'm always going to think of him as that Todd boy from Parenthood for obvious reasons.
Oh my God, that's a deep cut. Wow.
That movie impacted my life in significant ways.
By the way, so let's real quick cast check on this thing. Keanu Reeves, of course. Ian McShane, of course. Halle Berry's in it. Yeah. Lawrence Fishburne gets to reunite with Keanu Reeves in this. Angelica Houston is in it. Yeah. Robin Lord Taylor's in it. Lance Reddick is in it. If you know Lance Reddick from TV, just Google that guy. You'll know him as soon as you see his face. And then there's another actor. He's the Iranian guy from Wonder Woman. He's been in a bunch of... Saeed Tagmoui is in this. You'll Google him. You'll know him as soon as you see him. He's actually Moroccan French, so it's kind of hard to pin him down, but he was one of the guys in Wonder Woman. I know him most from House of Saddam, which was an excellent series on HBO once upon a time. But this is like a killer cast, and just like the trailer again, I just watched this trailer going, God, I want to this is for me like the pure summer movie where it's just like Mad Max, the newest Mad Max movie. The hell is that called? Fury Road? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that, where it's it's going to be violent, it's going to be bonkers, but it's going to be so much fun. And just, everybody
I get the impression that everyone did write it off as as a Crank or a Fast and Furious or something, and then it turned out that it struck the right tone, and it was a really well made film. And I think that's how it gained its legs. At least that's my impression from talking to people who love it. I'm hoping that when I finally sit down and watch this whole series, that it is what I hoped Crank would be, because that was similarly talked up by the How Did This Get Made podcast, and which I thought was not good. So I'm hoping John Wick, it hits that right, tone of everything. And it certainly looks like it was. I would like to, maybe we can do a whole separate episode on this. I'm sure, I know, Keanu Reeves, there's like college classes devoted to his oeuvre and stuff like that. I would love to discuss the theory that there is a Keanu-verse, and that all of these movies, he is always Keanu moving through this. Like, he is Constantine. He is, is his name in Matrix? Is he the Mr. Anderson?
He's something Anderson, and then Neo is his.
Good Lord. This guy has caused way too many nicknames for me already. And 47 Ronin, I loved. But that was a weird one. Anyway,
very underappreciated.
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, that takes us to May 24th. The only live action Disney remake that I have ever been interested in comes out then. It's Aladdin. It's Guy Ritchie. Oh,
Jesus.
Have you seen the trailers?
No, but remember that I didn't know it was Guy Ritchie. I mean, what was that awful King Arthur thing he did the other year?
Right.
That was garbage.
Oh, I forgot about that completely. Oh no.
Oh my God. No. The guy behind Swept Away with Madonna.
King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, by the way. also the director of The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
I did not see
Holmes. That. Robert Downey Jr.
I don't know.
I like
that King Arthur thing was a real steaming pile. He's one of those guys where like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels came out, and he had this great reputation for the English Robert Rodriguez Tarantino kind of guy. And then I thought Snatch was god awful. And at least that's how I recall thinking of it. And he's one that I'm always torn between. Is he really that good, or is he just getting lucky? And it seems to be a wild pendulum with him, because you're right. Like Sherlock Holmes, like perfect match of like story and his style. Yeah. And then King Arthur, utter shit, That
could have been more the screenplay though than him, at the end of the day, he could have just been like, all right, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it could have been a paycheck. Anyway.
But this is Aladdin, but this is like, it's going to have most of the same songs. You got Will Smith doing his damnedest to be the genie. Don't judge the CGI until we see it in full. But I look at this. It's got sexy Jafar. That'll be interesting. Okay. Alan Tudyk is voicing Iago. It looks big and colorful and interesting. And
honestly, until this moment, thought we were talking about the Lion King. Now I remember the difference between Aladdin and the Lion King.
Oh, that's coming too. We'll get to that in just a minute.
And just a point of clarification: Guy Ritchie wrote King Arthur.
Oh Christ! Well, I take back that note.
Well, that's cool. So you're not looking forward to Dumbo, which reunites like the Batman cast with Tim Burton, which is Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito, Tim Burton. But you are looking forward to Aladdin.
God, I didn't even think about that. Wow, You're right. Oh, I mean, I'll see Dumbo too at some point, probably on VOD or something. But no, Aladdin looks like I'm just pissed that they're not putting it out in November like they did all the animated classics. Because if you want to really milk the nostalgia, put it out over Thanksgiving, like all the previous Disney animated classics were. It makes more sense. But whatever, Disney now owns all the movies, so they have to make room for Star Wars and everything else.
Well, and they got Frozen 2 coming up.
Oh God,
The Revenge.
The Frozening.
I don't know what it's called.
Well, here's the other thing coming out May 24th, and this brings us firmly into indie world, because there's a little movie called Brightburn, which I have not heard much about at all until this week.
Neither. Until you told me to watch the trailer.
If you're listening to this, pause, go watch the trailer for Brightburn. Here's the pitch. Imagine the Superman origin story. There's a farm, some nondescript farm, probably in Kansas or somewhere. A spaceship crashes in. A child is found. This couple who hasn't had a kid tries to raise the kid, and instead of becoming Superman, he goes the other way, and it basically becomes a horror movie. And I am so damn intrigued by this thing. It's got what the hell is his name from The Office? It's got Roy from The Office as the dad, and Elizabeth. What's her name? Oh my God. Hang on.
Elizabeth Banks.
Elizabeth Banks. Thank you. She's the mom.
Yes. Avery Jessup from 30 Rock.
Yeah, Matt Jones is in it too, which is interesting. He was an Office alum. But yeah, David Denham, who's Roy from The Office, he's in there. Yeah. So it's got this interesting cast, but just watch the trailer. Like, I am so intrigued by this thing, and this is kind of where I am now in this stage of my life. Like, where I appreciate the Shazams of the world and the Endgames of the world, but these kind of movies, the Brightburns, and yes, I'll even name check the upcoming Joaquin Phoenix Joker, which you clearly have made it clear you don't want to see. Those two movies, I'm actually really interested in those, because it's like, give me something that I have no idea like where we're going. Yeah. Completely flip my expectations so that I surrender completely to the experience. That's what I want. And this Brightburn looks like the hidden gem of the summer, hopefully.
And I'm sorry, I was Googling this, so you may have just said this, and I'm going to sound like an idiot for repeating it, but also produced by the Dunn brothers, as in James, Did I get that wrong? The Gunn brothers, right?
Brothers.
Yes.
Yeah, James Gunn.
James Gunn's brothers. Sorry, the star of this movie is named Jackson Dunn. That's why I just said that.
Well, so the screenplay by Brian Gunn and Mark Gunn, and then James Gunn produced it with a couple other people.
Oh, gotcha. They did the screenplay, and then he It's interesting because Sean Gunn is the actor who's in the Guardians movies.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but I heard him interviewed, one time where he talked about all of his brothers that were in the movie business. And I thought that was fascinating. So,
but look at the trailer. Like, imagine, in Man of Steel when Diane Keaton's like, just breathe, Clark, breathe. And she's trying to calm him down. What if she couldn't calm him down? What would happen? What sort of social pariah would this kid turn out to be?
What if Superman were a psychopath?
and couldn't adjust to the world that he found, like the alien world he found himself in. I am so on board for this thing. I hope it's good, but I hope it's the Ex Machina of 2019. I'll just put it there.
I thought this might have been the one you were talking about when you teased that earlier. Yeah.
Then on May 31st, we've got Godzilla, King of the Monsters. At this point, who cares? Rocket Man also comes out that day. That's what I put that in here. I'll be seeing Rocket Man for sure because I'm in
Elton John, Kim Jong-un crossover biopic that we've all been waiting for. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm in the bag for Taron Egerton in all things. He plays Elton John. It looks like unbelievable.
Oh God, this is really an Elton John story. I didn't even know, but I did see this this preview, and I was blown away. I was like, because Elton John is in Kingsman 2.
Yeah, right.
I was like, this is fucking crazy.
And if you
probably knew he was in this movie, like he'd already been cast for this. And actually worked with Elton.
No. I think this set the stage because Taron Egerton in the movie, the animated movie Sing, his character sings the Elton John song "I'm Still Standing." So you had that, you had Kingsman 2, and then I forget. Oh, I know what it was. They originally wanted to cast Tom Hardy as Elton John, and then that all fell apart. And then Taron Egerton stepped right into that perfectly. I think based on that, all that kind of history leading up to it, and. My wife and I are so in the bag for this movie. It's going to be amazing. So King of the Monsters, if you want, but Rocket Man on May 31st, not a comic book movie by any stretch, but I don't care. I'm going to mention it anyway. This takes us into June, Todd. And there are three or four movies here. X-Men Dark Phoenix on June 7th.
Now, so you really made a hard pitch for the international trailer in episode a few weeks ago, and I've still not dug that out. But I mean, I really enjoyed the trailer I saw before Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I am. So X-Men 2 remains one of my absolute favorite superhero movies of all time. Like, I loved X-Men 1. But X-Men 2, even going back now, you rewatch that thing, it still holds up incredibly well. Yeah. The ending sets up so much possibility with Jean that you get a movie that good, and then X3 comes out and just tanks the whole thing. Tanks the whole thing. And so I have been waiting, and we got to the McAvoy verse with, these newer movies, which I've liked mostly.
The
Macaverse. Thank you. I did not quite care for Age of Apocalypse. I thought that was
that was a mess.
Giant turd. I still went anyway. But I'm looking at this one going, okay, yeah, Simon Kinberg is still involved. He was involved in the third one. So maybe there's some trepidation there. But I watched these trailers and I'm like, man, they may pull this off. They don't even have to do a comics accurate version of Dark Phoenix. I don't care about that. I just want a solid, good movie that really explores the character.
A Jean Grey movie. Yeah.
The Jean Grey. Yeah, I want it. I want what X3 should have been. Right. And if they can pull that off, I'll be so grateful. And this is basically the last Fox era X-Men movie before Kevin Feige gets his hands all over that. So
I think they have an opportunity to this could be their end game kind of thing.
I hope so.
Wrap up this wrap this cast, wrap this storyline, just put the bow on it. And so I'm hopeful that it is that movie that, ends all this on the right note, and we're cool with it.
We'll see.
It has to be a happy note, but it's
we'll see. If it doesn't, a week later we have Men in Black International, which if you like Thor Ragnarok, you're going to love this. It's got Tessa Thompson. It's got Hemsworth, and frankly, I'm
it the other Hemsworth?
No. It's Chris, not Liam.
Dirk Hemsworth or whatever his name is.
No, not Dirk.
I didn't really think about Hemsworth in it. I still won't see it in the theater. I'm not as big of a fan of those two people as I am. I don't really care about Men in Black.
I'm just trepidatious because this gets into my whole like franchise fatigue thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, do we need another one of these? Not really. I would have rather seen, honestly, if they really want to make money off of Tessa Thompson and Hemsworth, write some new original thing. Yeah. Like, make them a married couple in the suburbs somewhere, and they have to deal with, Christoph Waltz as their neighbor. I don't know, something. Give me anything else. I mean, I get that it helps them sell better, but everything is franchise fatigue now. Give me something new with these characters.
I feel like this is the contrast to like the Hellboy thing, which is Hellboy is sort of a as fresh as it can be reimagining of that series.
Yeah.
And Men in Black is, I don't know, I haven't seen a lot about it, but it definitely feels like it's trying to pitch itself to like, no, you liked the old ones, what if we like now you'll like this one? It's the same kind of thing. I don't know.
Same continuity. Emma Thompson's in it. She's still in it as like the head because she takes over in the third one. So yeah, she's still. I'm hoping because if you loved Ragnarok and you love that chemistry, maybe they'll pull it off. We'll see. June 21st, we have two coming out that couldn't be more different. We've got Child's Play, which I'm not going to see.
We need another Child's Play. I mean, is this this is Chucky again?
Yeah, Chucky. But here's the only interesting twist. Mark Hamill is voicing Chucky. That was just announced. So if you like Mark Hamill's voice acting, I mean, I'm kind of intrigued just by that fact alone.
It's going to sound exactly like the Joker from that Batman animated series, isn't it?
Maybe. I mean, probably. So I'm not going to see it, but if you're interested in Mark Hamill taking a stab at Chucky, go see that. Otherwise, go see Toy Story 4, which is...
Again, why? What?
Yeah.
This is franchise fatigue for me.
I will completely agree on this one. Toy Story 3 ended in the most perfect goddamn way possible, right? You're never going to top the scene. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. You're never going to top the scene in Toy Story 3 where they're all holding hands in the dumpster fire about to die. And, obviously they don't. But, like, that was the most emotional, like, oh, my God, we've been with these characters this whole time. Like, if that, you're never going to top that. So why bother? Why even try?
I never saw the second one. But I remember thinking, like, when the third one came out, like, wow, this is, who asked for this? But I agree. Like, I saw it and I was like, wow, I had the same feeling. And what I heard going in was like, there's this moment where literally everyone in the theater starts crying.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, that's ridiculous. And then that dumpster thing happened. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. You can't be, that was the most amazing coda to that series of stories.
Yeah.
I don't, whatever Pixar. I mean, we didn't need Cars 2 or 3 or whatever the hell number they're on there.
Planes. I don't know what they're
Planes,
on now.
Yeah. Boats. Boats 5.
Yeah.
Planes,
cars, and toys.
You guess what? So there used to be a time when Disney did do, Aladdin. I always like the joke in Family Guy when they're like, Aladdin 5, Jafar needs new glasses. And it's just like Jafar in an optometrist office, doing that. And Disney used to do that, but they used to do it for home video only. Like, hey, we're not going to
wouldn't be the original cast.
No, it's like we got somebody who kind of sounds like Robin Williams to do the genie, and it was very off-putting. And so the fact that they're like going, oh, no, these are all big budget movies now. I mean, maybe they'll pull it off. I don't know why we need.
But also, it's not for us. I guess that's where.
Yeah, that's true.
But what a waste of energy and like creativity.
I'll be gladly proven wrong if somebody goes and sees it and goes, no, dude, they do it. They pull it off. Fine. But I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna be the one to figure that out. Somebody tell me.
Only if the bad toys win.
Ooh, there you go.
And they kill the little boy.
Oh my God.
It turns into a Child's Play crossover where like the bad toys are like, hey, we have this new toy. His name's Chuck.
Oh my God.
In the Toy Story animation style, but Chucky.
Can you imagine? By the way, completely off the topic, but if they ever end Mission Impossible, that has always been my hope, is that Ethan Hunt finally just turns bad and they've got to kill him. Like that's the only way Mission Impossible can truly end in a way that makes sense. Anyway, July 5th, 4th of July weekend, big weekend. Spider-Man is coming back, Far From Home.
If you can get out of the house from watching Stranger Things,
that's going to be the trick, man. I am glad you said that because I wonder how much that's going to impact
that last trailer. Oh my God.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That last, if you have not seen the most recent Stranger Things trailer, stop everything. Stop your car. Stop your, if you're working out in the gym, stop what you're doing. Pull up your phone and Google that stuff. It is the greatest trailer for anything I've ever seen. It's even greater than Game of Thrones. I watched that trailer and almost lost my mind. It was so good. So yeah, that's a good point. I mean, people are going to see Spider-Man, obviously, but is that going to impact their weekend receipts at all?
Well,
it's going to be interesting.
And I mean, like, I thought the trailer for this was super fun. Maybe have there been more than one trailer? I know I just saw one before Captain Marvel, but this is that thing that I wanted to put a pin in because we'd come back to it. Is like we mentioned it in past episodes. Now we know Spider-Man's alive. Like they're literally, hyping the new movie with him. So we know.
And Amy Pascal has said this takes place right after Endgame continuity. So there's no mistake. This isn't a everybody's like, well, maybe this is before. No, this happens exactly after. So
and I don't mind that it's after, but in that trailer, the theatrical trailer I saw, Nick Fury appears. And that's the only part of this where I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, let him evaporate.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't need to come back.
Pardon me.
And that's the only thing that has me worried about this next phase of Marvel movies is they have a great opportunity to wipe the slate clean and establish like new heroes and a new tone and all of that. And I'm just hoping that this doesn't become like 40 movies, like all in continuity stuff.
Oh yeah.
So that's my only caveat about it, but I mean, it wouldn't keep me from going to see it. So, yeah.
Two biggest selling points for me, Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Mysterio is my favorite Spider-Man villain. Jake Gyllenhaal. Have you seen, by the way, Velvet Buzzsaw on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
It is a delightful little horror movie starring Jake Gyllenhaal and some other folks you might recognize, Rene Russo. It's actually by the guy who did Nightcrawler, which is that creepy Jake Gyllenhaal movie where he goes around filming disasters and stuff, and Rene Russo is in that. So this reunites that team. Wow. But it's just this fun little, it's not the best movie in the world, but it's just a fun little indie auteur horror movie. And Jake Gyllenhaal just is having a lot of fun as this pretentious art critic. And it's just, I'm like, oh my God, thank you, Jake Gyllenhaal, for making interesting choices again in your career. So he is Mysterio. And the other, honestly, I said it when Homecoming came out. I am so invested in this Zendaya, Peter Parker thing. Like they're dating in real life. So that chemistry, Tom Holland and Zendaya have been dating for a while. That chemistry is going to carry over. And honestly, Zendaya as Mary Jane, or the Mary Jane character, the MJ character, what an inspired choice. They seeded her so perfectly into Homecoming that it's going to be really fun to see them start to take advantage of that. Like just like Jean Grey in X-Men 1 and 2, where it's just very slow, organic building of that character. They're doing that same thing with MJ in these movies. So I'm really curious to see how well they take that.
Man,
how far they take that.
Yeah. What is it about that spider suit that gets the ladies? Because didn't Andrew what's his face and Emma Stone start dating during Spider-Man?
Yeah, they did. Wow, you're right.
Whatever. Anyway, we also have now we're on the next favorite movie. I hope this one this is like a Francis Ford Coppola movie or something, right? The Lion King.
No,
if Guy Ritchie's doing the last one, this is like Tarantino's Lion King.
I wish. Sadly, it's just a live action Lion King that has, it's going to basically be a shot for shot remake of the animated movie. James Earl Jones is back as Mufasa.
Oh, I did hear that.
When we talk about why do we need this is probably top of the list for me. We've got the Broadway.
We got one coming that's gonna top it, I'm sure.
All right. The Broadway stage play really did something new and unique with the Broadway. Right. That was amazing. And if they could find something new here, but like just because Idris Elba is Scar, that's fine. I mean, great casting, but we saw this already. We don't need another one of these unless you're going to do something totally different.
Is this all because the Jungle Book, the Favreau Jungle Book, worked so well? Is that what's led us to this?
It's that, but it's also Disney trying to reinforce their trademarks and copyrights. That's really what this is. Because every time they do a new iteration, it just pushes that extension further and further into the future. So, in some ways, me wanting to go to Aladdin is only enabling them to continue to do these kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, it's true.
So anyway, there's that. And then more so, probably the one movie in July that I'm really looking forward to is the release of Tarantino's newest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, that's
not a comics movie, but kind of is. I mean, I look at the trailer for this, and this also looks just like a really killer indie graphic novel that I would love. So I'm all on board for this one.
This is one where, because when you and I talked about this episode before, you told me specifically to watch Brightburn, and I told you, like, I'm not going to watch anything else that I'm not familiar with. And I didn't even realize this was the Tarantino movie, or that it was coming out that early.
Yeah.
I don't care about him anymore.
Aww.
So, yeah.
For political reasons, for aesthetic reasons?
Just aesthetic reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm one of those people who, like, I'm a late Tarantino fan. Like, anything after Kill Bill 2, I love.
I feel like he got this great insurgence after Inglourious Bastards. Like a whole new audience came on, and that and Death Proof, I was like, nope, done with you.
I forgot he did Death Proof. That was more of a side project, though, really. Wasn't it?
I never sat through all of Kill Bill either.
Kill Bill 2 is one of my favorite movies.
Boner for gore, and I don't, and I just was like, whatever.
Fair enough.
I still think Jackie Brown is like a fantastic movie.
That's the one I don't like.
Oh my God. You got to watch it with Steven Soderbergh's. What's the one that's like an unintentional prequel to it? Out of Sight with George Clooney and Jennifer Lopez. Michael Keaton. So those were both Elmore Leonard books, and Michael Keaton plays the same character in each movie.
Seriously?
Yeah. Like Tarantino decided to keep it in the world.
Wow.
Like, because in the books it's the same character. So he was like, yeah, I'm just going to cast whatever his name is, Roy or something. Like,
oh, that's cool. Yeah. I didn't realize Michael Keaton was even in Jackie Brown.
I love both of the. Yeah, he's the FBI or DEA guy or whatever that busts her at the airport and goes through a bag. And yeah. But he's a much bigger role in Out of Sight. And yeah, not that that's what makes Jackie Brown good. I think they're both independently good. But sorry, I've rambled too much about those movies.
No, that's all right. Well, that comes out July 26th. On August 2nd is a movie that I'm sure you will probably be interested in. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, forget Tarantino.
This is the movie that Vin Diesel is so pissed about because The Rock has just sort of slid into this franchise and is basically owning it now too.
So do you know the story about? So at the end of Fast and Furious 8, there was a post-credits scene of Hobbs and Shaw previewing this.
Oh, really? Oh, so they had it planned even that far back.
It made it to the theaters, and then Vin Diesel made them cut it and reissued new prints to the theaters that had gotten it.
Oh, boo.
What a turd. Like, this is the most hilarious battles of the egos in these movies. Like, both he and The Rock, and I think a couple of the other ones have contracts where they can never lose in a fight to the other one. So that's why when The Rock and Vin Diesel fight, it's always like a double knockout or something.
Oh, sure.
Or So as a recent convert to these movies, I will absolutely see this. I think they're so fun to see in the theater. You are guaranteed like this is going to be the most hilarious over the top action stuff. But the story thing is so, I just can't get past like, oh, okay, so the good guy cop and this horrible assassin are now like buddies, So it's a little weird.
Well, they're frenemies. I mean, like it's got Idris Elba again as basically taking the super soldier serum and running around. I mean, like you nailed it. Like that wasn't me.
That's right from How Did This Get Made? That's
I know, but I was so baffled by these movies. But you clarified it by saying, look, no, these are basically superhero movies or comics movies in disguise. And
where they don't have powers. They
don't have powers, but now they do. I mean, now they basically have powers too. So it's just like, now they're just full on. Like, so I'm actually what they're trying to do is make Hobbs and Shaw its own thing. So my guess is if this does well, the next one won't even have Fast and Furious in the title. It'll just be Hobbs and Shaw, the next one or whatever.
I actually thought that was gonna happen on this one. So I wonder if that's a Vin Diesel thing too, if he's got some ownership in the franchise and is insisting on it or something. But
interesting.
Yeah, and also that Powers line, that straight up came from How Did This Get Made? They're the ones who observed these are superhero movies where they're not actually super.
It's a pretty insightful
it's amazing. I mean, whenever it's like in 6, or I think it's in 6, where Vin Diesel literally like flies through the air and catches what's her name, Michelle Rodriguez, in the air, and then he jumps over a highway. He jumps out of his car, which is in the air, catches her, and then they land on another car, and it's like the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. But I mean, come on, this movie, it's got Gal Gadot, and it's got a character named Han Solo.
I may go see this if I'm sitting there on August 2nd going, man, I still haven't seen a really fun movie yet. This will be on my list.
I'll share the other advice that almost like Storm of Spoilers gave this advice, and How Did This Get Made gave this advice. Forget about the first 4 movies. If you're interested in Fast and Furious, there's nothing that happens in those first 4 movies that you need to know to go into the 5th movie. And I think they even do a recap scene at the beginning of the 5th movie. And so you might as well just like start with 5, and after that, they're all golden.
Yeah, that's good. That's good context. And there are some people who will still go, no, I have to be a completist. I have to watch the first one. Don't do that.
As I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. Well, I mean, do you need to see Tokyo Drift to make all this make sense? Probably not. So
that will actually be more confusing because Han will die in that, and then you'll be like, well, he's in the next 3 movies. What's going on? Because they retconned his existence. So that Tokyo Drift actually happens between movies 6 and 7.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. It's insane.
Wow.
Because his Han's death, Jason Statham kills him like that in the retcon. Mm-hmm. So, man, it's great.
Was Jason Statham the actual villain in a previous movie?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So they were going after him. So at some point, Idris Elba will probably be one of the team. And we'll just keep adding.
They're just Borg. They just assimilate. Like everyone just eventually becomes. Yeah,
that's kind of fun.
All your Fast and Furious belong to us.
Well, God bless The Rock for by the way, speaking of The Rock, I have a pitch for you. I was watching on Amazon Prime the other night the HD version of The Running Man, the Arnold Schwarzenegger 80s movie, and I was sitting there going. Yeah, every once in a while, like about every 10 years, it either comes on TV or in this case, I find it. And I'm just like, oh, it has its charm, its charming moments. I want to see a reboot of The Running Man with The Rock as the Ben Richards character, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, and Robert Downey Jr. as the game show host producer that the guy from Family Feud played in the original movie.
A good call. Man, it would end up being like Colin Farrell or something.
It can't be. No. You watch that movie, you're like, shit, Robert Downey Jr. could crush this game show, like this shady game show guy's role. This would be amazing.
Nobody, oh my God. Can you imagine like every generation past ours does not understand how amazing it is that Wink Martindale is like the evil version of himself. Like everything in that movie. I'm sorry, I could go on and on.
Not Wink Martindale. No. It's
not Wink Martindale.
Oh God, I'm looking it up right now. Where is it in the list? Richard Dawson.
Who's Wink Martindale?
Wink Martindale's another game show host. He hosted other things at the time. But Richard Dawson hosted Family Feud, and you're right. He literally plays an evil version of what he is in the real life. And you know what? He's a pretty good actor. You watch him in that movie, you're like, damn, this guy's good. Like he's a game show host, but he's actually got some scenes where he takes his time and he finds
all the mannerisms are the same. Like he has this really like unique way of like when he would hold the cards and his pinky was always sticking out and had this huge ring on it, and that's exactly what's happening with Running Man. And you're like, oh my God, this guy was a sociopath.
Two more quick facts about Running Man. Mick Fleetwood of Fleetwood Mac is in it, playing a character called Mick. So just keep that in mind. and if you want to laugh as hard as you've laughed all week, go Google Jesse Ventura Captain Freedom workout scene, and just watch so Jesse Ventura plays one of the retired stalker characters in it, which I'm sure the producer's like, let's reunite the cast of Predator somehow. And so Jesse Ventura's in it as and he's like a retired stalker, but they make him he's kind of like a color commentator now, and he's all pissed about it, and he can't get back.
Get called off the bench to they call him in when the other ones fail.
They do, but then they make him wear this ridiculous costume, and he's like, I don't want any part of this. I used to have integrity, damn it, and he walks off. So they take old footage of him to try to recreate the fact that Ben Richards dies by his hand, but all of this is beyond the fact that in the beginning of the movie, in the first 20 minutes, Schwarzenegger breaks into the female character's apartment, and she's watching this workout video hosted by Captain Freedom, which is the Jesse Ventura character. It is the greatest cut scene I have ever I wish that in the DVD extras they had they'd filmed an entire workout routine, because it's so he literally looks at his muscles and goes, yeah, and he's it's so over the top and amazing that we'll never see anything like that again in movies. It's just so
and especially the sort of retro irony or just whatever it is, satire, or it's now watching it this is the guy that eventually became a governor, and with playing opposite another governor, and now he's this crazy conspiracy theorist, Ventura that is, and it's just what the fuck, man. It's a trip to rewatch that movie. I watched that and the original Total Recall recently.
They're both kind of the same. They feel kind of by the same production company. There's a sort of zaniness to them both. That's kind of fun to just So anyway, Running Man reboot coming to theaters soon. Hopefully, starring Rock and Robert Downey Jr. Oh, and Dave Bautista could play the Captain Freedom character, or the aged guy who's been taken.
I was just about to ask that. Dave Bautista is not. Well, he'd be good at it, but. In 30 years, is he going to be as ridiculous as Jesse Ventura is now?
No, no one's going to be as ridiculous as that. Come on.
I know.
Are you kidding?
I don't know. I'm wondering if someone else could do it. Anyway,
moving on.
That's not actually happening. And another movie we don't know is actually happening or not.
Yeah, great transition. So also on August 2nd, I don't know if this is still happening, because there has been a lot of talk about them still doing reshoots, and maybe this movie will be canceled entirely. It's the New Mutants movie, which Maisie Williams of Game of Thrones is in it. And it's supposedly the trailers that have been shown to date have been pretty interesting and compelling. It's like a X-Men movie as a horror movie, essentially. But no one knows if this is coming out. Nobody knows if this is really happening. Yeah. Have you heard anything? No,
exactly. My whole transition was based on I don't even know. I don't know either. But the cast was ridiculous. Antonio Banderas is in it.
Oh, that's right.
Anya Taylor-Joy, who is in this movie called Thoroughbreds that I've talked about before, which I really enjoyed. She's playing Magic, which I think is the most ideal casting I've ever heard of. I don't even know who Maisie's character is. This Ron or Rain.
She is Wolfsbane.
Oh, okay. But I'm just like you. It's on, it's off, it's on. Because I think it was actually supposed to come out last year. Isn't that what happened? Yep. And then they punted to spring of this year, and then they punted again. And I'm seeing the same thing you're seeing, which is August 2nd, but who knows?
Maybe. Maybe not. We'll see. Well, August 9th is the film adaptation of the book Artemis Fowl. I haven't read the book. I know so little about any of it. It looks like it might be interesting. I don't know.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of Artemis Fowl, I guess go see that. On August 9th also is another book adaptation, which I'm very interested in. Guillermo del Toro gives us Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. If you're not, you may have been a little too old for this, Todd, but back in the day, at the grade school book fairs, you would see this just, I'm looking at it on my shelf right now. It's a kid's book, but it's got the most effed up drawings and illustrations ever. That will haunt you to your core in this kid's book. And so there are these little vignette stories that just have these, by all accounts, if you just read them, they're a little creepy, but then you see these drawings that just, you can't shake. And I don't know what they were thinking, but Guillermo del Toro is making it a movie. So,
and I know you've talked about that before, and I can't remember the context, but Yeah, I didn't know what this title was, but yeah, you brought it all back home to me. Which
so that'll be why that's not coming out in October. I don't understand. Like that's a Halloween movie if there ever was one, but whatever.
I like how when Reindeer Games came out in February.
Oh God.
I'm so glad that you put this last movie on the list because there's no way to deflate the optimism and hope and anticipation for summer movies than with the totally WTF title of this last movie.
Yeah, August 16th, the end of the summer movie season is capped off by Playmobil the Movie. Yeah. That's right. Fans of the original toy line, the Playmobil toys, they're just like Lego. Apparently Playmobil is like, we want some of that money too. And so we're going to make a stop motion animation movie of the Playmobil toys.
What fuck?
I didn't even know this was a thing until I was going through our list. I was going through the summer movie schedule, just picking off the ones we've talked about. And I saw this at the end. I was like, this can't be real. And I looked and there was a trailer and everything. And I was just like, how the hell is this possible? Why is this being put out? And I guess it's just, I mean, my assumption is just what I said. Playmobil just is like, yeah, we want some of that Lego movie money. And
I'm already calling bull. Oh my God. Anya Taylor-Joy is in this one as well. What the hell? And Daniel Radcliffe, Adam Lambert, Meghan Trainor, Jim Gaffigan. What's going on? This is terrible. I'm already calling bullshit on this because I'm looking at a single frame of Playmobil the Movie where a character's legs are at different angles.
Well, I'm watching the trailer as we speak. It looks like it's a real thing.
But how can they walk? Playmobil figures could only sit down or stand up. Like their legs were attached. They didn't. I mean, they moved at the same angle.
Well, so far in the trailer, I haven't seen any of them walk. They're all sitting or they're standing, talking. Oh no, here we go. Somebody just walked. So there we go. So yeah, I mean, it's so obvious they're trying to just basically recreate the magic of the Lego movie, and Playmobil had its loyal small little base, but I mean, are you gonna spend movie? I mean, apparently animation is cheap enough now where just anything can happen and just like let's roll the dice and see. But why? I mean, why not hedge your bets and just sell this to Hulu or Amazon Prime or something or any of those?
Yeah, Google tells me that people who search for this also searched for this other film I'm going to mention, which we didn't put on our list by some horrible oversight. Which is just as WTF, which is there's an Ugly Dolls movie.
Oh, I didn't even bother putting that on here.
Animals.
Yeah.
Nick Jonas, Emma Roberts, Kelly Clarkson, Charlie XCX. What is this cast? Produced by Robert Rodriguez.
What? What?
What the fuck?
Robert's my boy. How the hell did he get involved with that? The
Spy Kids have gone to his head, I guess.
That's God. I mean, unless his response is, look, man, I made it on my iPad on the flight to Berlin last summer. Then I'd be like, okay, great. You needed something to do. Okay. And then you just like, hey, I've got this movie. I need some voices. Who's free on a weekend? Just come to my house. And if that was the case, more power to him.
Yeah. How do we get in on this lucrative voice acting business? Because I mean, I would do, I would love to. I would just do voices for terrible movies all day and all night.
Let's all remember TJ Miller was the star of the Emoji Movie from last year.
Oh,
that was both a thing and he was in it. So
I always like thinking of, I know this isn't the case, but I always like thinking of it like he left the successful Silicon Valley to do the Emoji Movie in the same like sort of Shelley Long, like I'm going to Hollywood kind of move.
God, that's right.
I have left Cheers to star in Troop Beverly Hills.
Wow. That is a prescient comparison. That I never thought about that, but that is damn. Because I remember reading when he left Silicon Valley, all those like interviews he did, and he was very specific to say, look, I'm not talking about Silicon Valley anymore. That's in the past. What's in the future is my new career, the Emoji Movie, and my part in Ready Player One, where I got to work with Steven Spielberg. I'm like, but you were only your voice was heard. Like, and it wasn't even that good a movie. And what?
I mean, yeah. Anyway, that kind of wraps up our summer preview. We did this in at least double the time that we thought it would take, but that's because I appreciate that we had so many weird rabbit holes that we fell down.
We're not even going to start talking about fall. We'll do another episode later in the summer to talk about the fall, which actually looks more promising than a lot of the summer stuff. I guess let's to recap. If you could pick your favorite, what's the one movie on this list that you're most excited to see?
Oh man, that is a cheap shot.
Yep. I'll do it too. I just want to hear you and it doesn't even have to be like, I know this would be the best one. Like, what's the one that you're like, man, if I had to just pick one to see and only one, which one would it be?
Well,
I'll even take Endgame off the table. I'll take that off.
I was going to say, take it off.
Yeah, that's a given.
I feel like these are all on the same. I'm totally trying to work around that question. I feel like these are all at the same level, so it could be any one of Shazam, Hellboy, Hobbs and Shaw, or Spider-Man.
Okay.
If only one of those I could see in a theater and the other three I had to see at home, that'd be okay. I think Spider-Man will be a better quality movie. Shazam, I think, is going to be good, but I just have nothing to judge that on. Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw. I mean, I appreciate the theater experience, but I understand if anyone else skipped that and watched it at home.
My answer, of course, is obvious. Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Movie.
Well, I was sure you would say Brightburn.
No, Brightburn. I mean, here's the thing. Brightburn, if I miss it in theaters, I'm absolutely going to rent that thing because that looks like a small little intimate movie that I could watch either way. I think if I could only pick one by historical context and sheer curiosity, Dark Phoenix is probably my choice.
Interesting.
Because I'm like, if I have been wanting that to work since 2003, since that abortion of a movie X3 came out. I'm sorry, that was 2006. 2003 was X2.
You're really hard on this movie that was directed by the legendary director of all of Mariah Carey's videos.
Oh my God. Let me just real quick. Remember the context of X3. Bryan Singer, who, now disgraced Bryan Singer, but at the time, beloved Hollywood director Bryan Singer, who shepherded the first two movies to critical and commercial acclaim, decided to leave the X-Men franchise to direct Superman Returns, or whatever the hell that Brandon Roth Superman movie was, which nobody wanted, and then in turn left Brett Ratner to pick up the reins on X3, which nobody wanted. So Bryan Singer really shot everybody in the foot, and himself in the foot, and us in the foot, and he ruined so many people's lives. That decision.
Not even in the movies.
Exactly.
What a weird time when we saw those two movies and we went, I didn't expect the new Superman to be light years better than the new X-Men.
Yeah, and still pretty bad. It's like, ooh. Remember this? So we all know where Bryan Singer is now in terms of, his reputation and accusations and all that. Remember who he directed in Superman Returns? Was it Superman Returns? What was the name of that movie?
I do think it's Returns.
Bryan Singer, Superman Returns. Yeah. So in Superman Returns, he directed Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor. Just let that sink in for a second.
Man, I'll tell you what, though. I'm glad Brandon Routh, or Routh or whatever his name is, was such he was so charming in that movie and did a great Christopher Reeve impression. And I'm glad he landed firmly in the DC universe. So
God bless that guy. He seems to be almost kind of like Keanu Reeves, to take it full circle. He seems to kind of have he seems to sort of know his place in the world. He doesn't, he's just like, whatever, man, I'm working, I'm having fun. I love that experience, but I'm loving being on a CW show too. And he's doing great. I love that character. So more power to him.
Yeah. Cool.
There's by the way, last little nugget.
There's like an insider secret, which is whenever we run over on time, we really run over.
Oh yeah. If you're still listening, God bless you as well. But you'll be rewarded. I want you to Google. There's a thing, I forget what it's called. It's like all the old Supermen who aren't, who aren't like the big ones, like not. Who's our most recent Superman? Oh God, what's his name?
Henry Cavill.
Cavill, thank you, Jesus. I was going to say Bill. Uncle. It's not Henry Cavill, but it's like, Tim Daly, who voiced Superman in the animated series. It's Brandon Routh. I think there's
Dean
a
Cain.
video from Dean Cain in there. And what it is, it's Tim Daly's son is actually voicing Superman now in like new DC animated stuff. So it's this weird, like, club of Superman actors getting together. And it's really like, they're all making fun of each other and the fact that they're, nobody remembers that they were Superman, but like, it's these guys, it's pretty fun. And Brandon Routh has got a pretty good role in that it's like a little YouTube clip. Like a sketch thing. I forget even who put it on. It might have been like a James Corden thing or something, but it's pretty fun. Anyway, Todd, where can folks find this podcast and others like it?
We are panelism.inc on Instagram. And we are also panelism.inc in a web browser. And you can subscribe to our podcast anywhere wonderful podcasts are listened to and subscribed to. But you can find all those links at panelism.inc.